Over the past 25 years, I've gotten to know thousands of parents who want to raise their children to be bilingual or multilingual. Many of them succeed, but many of them don't. What's the difference between them? I'll tell you in this video. In fact, there are 5 big mistakes that I see parents make. The parents who avoid these mistakes, they generally succeed. And the parents who make these mistakes, they often don't. I'm Adam Beck, and this is Bilingual Super Kids, the channel that can help you maximize your success and your joy raising bilingual or multilingual kids. And if you want expert support to avoid these 5 major mistakes, I help parents worldwide as a personal coach and mentor. I've helped over 100 families experience greater success, and I can help your family enjoy greater success too. Just book a free strategy call with me to get started. First of all, let me say that everyone makes mistakes, and we can't expect to do any of this perfectly. But there's a tremendous difference between smaller mistakes and bigger mistakes. If you make a bigger mistake when you're trying to raise a bilingual child, the danger is you don't really know you're making that mistake until later when you're not getting the results you want for your minority language. When this happens, the bilingual aim gets even more challenging than it already is. It's always possible to turn the situation around, but it can be very difficult once the majority language becomes overly dominant. That's a big reason why coaching can help to turn things around. But of course, it's better to avoid this trap in the first place by avoiding the bigger mistakes. So here they are, the 5 biggest mistakes parents make when raising bilingual kids. Number 1, underestimating the amount of effort needed to raise a bilingual child. Unless your child has a full-time caregiver who speaks the minority language or attends a minority language school, bilingual success takes a lot of strategic effort. You have to be proactive if you want to experience the most rewarding results. Some parents assume that their children will simply pick up the minority language, like the average monolingual child. But when the early results don't match their expectations, this can be a very disappointing surprise. At that point, the child's majority language has already grown dominant, and the parents then face the larger challenge of strengthening the shortcomings in the development and use of the minority language. A little more awareness from the very start can make all the difference later on. When parents are mindful and proactive from as early as possible, they can prevent bigger problems like this from even arising. It's like preventive medicine, right? When you think ahead and you act to avoid potential problems, you can experience more enjoyable success. Number 2, not spending enough time with the child in the target language. If you're the main minority language parent and handing down your language to your children is important to you, you have to spend as much time with them as possible while they're young. This has to be one of your highest priorities, or your child just won't get enough language exposure to develop the kind of active ability you want. I know you're busy, but I urge you to make spending time with your kids the highest priority you possibly can. And engage with them when you're together. Play with them and be really talkative so you're providing them with as much input as possible each day. And listen, this isn't only for your bilingual aim. I know that's important to you, but even more important is the bond you're building with your kids. The more time you spend with them, the stronger that bond can be. You know, I once came across a quote that says, "Children spell love. T-I-M-E." I think that says it all. The truth is, if you don't spend enough time with your children when they're young, when they get older, you'll not only feel regret over their language development, you'll feel regret over the lack of time you spent with them, and you won't get a second chance. As I stress in this video, the very best thing about raising bilingual kids is the fact that our need to provide them with ample language exposure helps increase the quantity and the quality of the time we spend with our kids during their childhood. Number 3, not using the target language as consistently as actually possible. The more consistently you use your target language with your kids, the more success you'll likely experience. The parents who tend to enjoy the most success at their bilingual aim are the parents who are always consistent in their use of the minority language with their children. They'll use the majority language with others as they need to, but they always switch back to the minority language when communicating with their kids. The fact is, when parents aren't consistent, when they also use the majority language, this undermines the amount of exposure the child is getting in the minority language, because every word spoken in the majority language is a word not spoken in the minority language. On top of that, the use of the majority language also undermines the child's need to use the minority language, since the parent is basically giving permission to the child to use the majority language too. And remember, the 2 core conditions for fostering active language ability are exposure to the language and the need to use it. So I encourage parents to be very mindful and proactive about this. Challenge yourself to stay in the minority language with your children 100% of the time, or at least as close to 100% as you realistically can get. Number 4, not reading aloud to children every day throughout childhood. The 2 most important actions you can take are talking a lot and reading a lot. Honestly, if you did only those 2 things and you did them as fully as you could each day, you'd produce a lot of rewarding success over the months and years of childhood. There are 2 main reasons why reading aloud is so important. First of all, it's a very concrete activity for providing language input and can be the engine for all your efforts. When you have a daily read aloud routine, you have a consistent and structured way to engage your child in your language, and it keeps your mind continually focused on your bilingual aim. And second, the written language found in books tends to be richer and more sophisticated than the spoken language we use in daily life. When you read aloud to your children day after day, for all the years of childhood, at progressively higher levels, you're providing them with the richest kind of input possible. And this has an enormous impact on their language and literacy development and their larger interest in books and reading. So parents who don't frequently read aloud to their kids, for even just 15 minutes a day, are shortchanging their own efforts and their children's progress. Number 5, not getting enough resources in the minority language throughout childhood. In order to provide children with ample exposure in the minority language, you need ample resources. Generally speaking, the more resources you have, the more progress you can produce. So obtaining suitable resources, books especially, but also music and games and videos and apps, this task should be one of your very highest priorities. These can be resources specifically for the minority language, or other resources that can be used in that language. For example, wordless picture books or board games that don't require reading can be used in any language you like. And the thing is, you have to be committed to pursuing suitable resources continuously throughout childhood, in line with the child's evolving age, language level, and interests. When I'm coaching parents, one of the first things I want to know is what resources they have and how active they are in seeking out new resources. From the amount of books and other materials and their mindset when it comes to getting more of them, I can gauge the potential for success. So one of the key things we work on together is bringing in more resources that can promote the target language. Fresh resources spark fresh engagement and more exposure. Think of it this way. Resources are the wood that's needed to fuel the fire of language development. less wood produces a smaller fire, and more wood produces a bigger fire. So take an honest look at your situation right now. Are you making any of these key mistakes? Are you underestimating the amount of effort that's actually needed to produce the success that you want? Are you not spending enough time with your children? And are you fully engaged with them when you're together? Are you not using the target language as consistently as you really could if you were more mindful and more proactive? Are you not reading aloud every day? Is reading aloud a high enough priority to you? And do you have a lack of books and other resources? If you had more resources, could you engage your child in your language more frequently and productively? Finally, if you need help with any of this, please reach out to me. I've helped many parents over the years, and I can help you too. That's why I do this work, so children can develop stronger language ability and families can experience more success and more joy on this adventure. Just book a free strategy call with me, and we can talk about your situation directly. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and stick around for many more videos that can help you maximize your child's bilingual ability over the months and years ahead.